Welcome to the Haney Biz Project with Mark Haney. Mark is a serial investorpreneur and the chief dreaming officer of the Haney Biz Companies. He's working tirelessly to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution and share the inspiring stories of the region's most influential leaders. And now, here's Mark Haney.
All right. This is the Haney Biz Project. We are halfway through the season, halfway through 2017, but we are redoubling our efforts to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution right here in our hometown of Sacramento. You know what? We are helping entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs, one entrepreneur at a time, one conversation at a time. And that conversation, it starts with one question. Are you hanging or are you banging? Because if you are banging, that means you are at your very best, at your very best opportunity. But if you're hanging, that's cool too. I mean, we all need our downtime. Am I right, Marcus?
No doubt. I like hanging like the best of them.
I am here with Marcus Haney and Caroline Gaines, and we are getting ready to talk a little bit about business, about entrepreneurship. How you doing, Caroline?
I'm doing amazing. It feels good to be here.
It was 4th of July weekend, last weekend. I mean, it's a chance for a lot of us to be hanging, right? We all know that banging is when the magic happens, but sometimes we need a little R&R, don't we?
Absolutely.
What'd you do on the 4th of July weekend?
Hung out with my family.
You were hanging, huh?
Yeah, I was hanging and I got
time.
Restored, so
Yeah.
that was really
you are an extremely hard worker. You oversee the Haney Biz PR team, the Haney Biz PR company, and you work hard, your team works hard, you deserve a break. How about you, Marcus? What's hanging look like on 4th of July for Marcus
4th of
Haney?
July, I went out on the boat and enjoyed the lake a little bit, had some R&R, got some sunshine.
Nice. How was the lake? You out on Folsom Lake?
Folsom Lake with my boy Jordan Darling over at Freeform
Darling.
Factory. So yeah, we had a good time out there. Yeah, very
he
darling.
owns the first electric jet ski on the planet.
Yeah,
We're
stand
invested
up,
in them. Yeah.
So yeah, we had a great time. There were a bunch of folks out there having a great time at the lake. Didn't mean to cut you off, Caroline.
You're fine. I was going to say, what does hanging look like to
Well,
you,
I always
Coach
ask
Haney?
myself the question, is banging, right? When you're at your very best, we know that's important. And there's so many times when we're building our business, we go throughout the day and it's like, man, was I at my very best today? And I say to myself, no, I wasn't. Maybe once or twice I did pretty well, but being at my very best opportunity, sometimes I have to say, no, I'm not like that. But other times I am at my best, I am delivering, I am executing, my team is winning, we are doing our very best at the given moment. But we all need our downtime. So hanging, for me, you know what? That means doing a whole lot of nothing, right? So hanging means hanging out with my family, spending time with my family in Cabo. I like being out on the lake if Marcus doesn't have the boat. I haven't been doing that lately though. I've been working a lot more because I feel
with that?
Well, you know what? When there's a window of opportunity, if we look around, for our audience out there, we're in a new situation today, right? We're on Talk 650. We're on iHeart, but we're not recording down at the studio. We are in Mark Tank. We are in the studio here at Haney Biz in Rockland. And it really puts me at ease, I suppose, because I'm in my element, right? My office with dry erase boards all over the place, and a bar, which is handy for a guy like me.
Absolutely.
With refrigerators and all the reminders of why I do what I do, why we are helping other entrepreneurs, so why do I work so hard right now? And I look around my office and I see the jersey over there of Frank Gore. You know who Frank Gore is, right, Marcus?
Absolutely.
You know who Frank Gore is?
Yes, I do.
He was a 49er running back, and when a running back gets the ball, and what's a good average yards per carry for a running back?
3.5.
3.5, 4, 5 yards, you're good, right? But there's two things that Frank Gore does, and a lot of good running backs do it. Number one is they anticipate, right? They get the ball handed to them, and they look and they're thinking about what are they going to do with it. They know an opening is going to occur at some point, or maybe they hope that it is, so they're waiting for those blocks to happen. But when the opening happens, they accelerate. It's not the time to be hanging and taking it. I got my 5 yards, maybe I should just take a break right now. No, when the opening is there, now it's time to run for daylight. Now it's time to go for 6, right? Go for a touchdown. It's not the time to be hanging. So right now, for me, in this startup phase of, we've been doing this show about 2 years, but we have 2 or 3 companies that are in startup mode. We've got others that are way down the path and having some huge success. But I'm banging right now because I'm helping our startups to get over that hump. We are seeing some daylight and we are running toward the end zone with that in mind. But the other thing that Frank Gore does, and this is one thing that I think maybe we can all take away, and I've learned this over the years, that why waste an opportunity, right? A great running back will fall forward, right? And get that extra yard, that extra inch, that extra oomph, right? And so, I mean, if there's one thing that I know as in building businesses, you know what? Every inch matters. Yeah. And you know what? If you don't take that inch when it's there, you may not have that opportunity again. So I am taking every opportunity right now. I'm banging as much as I can, Marcus.
Love it.
I will be hanging with my next door neighbor, Tom Candris, very soon. He just had a huge exit in his life, and we're going to go down and celebrate, because I think it's okay to celebrate some victories, to hang with your buddies, and I will be doing that. But you know what? This show is about hearing the real world success stories of very well-known guys like we haven't had Frank Gore on the show, but you know what? Frank Gore was a great running back, but there's lesser known running backs that, you know what, they deserve us to hear their stories as well. So we hear from some of the better known guys and some of the guys that are not known as well yet, but we're all just trying to figure out a way to move the chains, right? To advance our careers, to get the ball down the field. And you know what? The best way to learn, in my mind, is by learning from people who have actually, well, I'll call it the second best way to learn, right? The best way to learn is by rolling up your sleeves, tightening up the chin strap, putting on the cleats, and getting in the game yourself. But the second best way to learn is by talking to people who have actually been in the game, have been there, done that, and they've got battle scars to show for it. Later in the show, we are going to meet Ryan Graham of Track 7 Brewing. And today, we got a doctor in the house. Yes, Dr. Grover Lee, the owner of Wise Villa Winery, is here to share his story. But coming up after the break, we will meet the illustrious congressman from the 4th District, Mr. Tom McClintock. Join the revolution. HaneyBiz.com, courtesy of Five Star Bank, the Entrepreneur's Bank. This is the Haney Biz Project.
Now, back to the Haney Biz Project with host Mark Haney.
All right. Welcome back to the Haney Biz Project, brought to you courtesy of Audi Rockland. I'm Mark Haney, and today I am joined by the Congressman of the 4th District, the Honorable Tom McClintock. How you doing, Tom?
Great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thank you for joining me. It is definitely an honor. Where is the 4th District anyway?
It's a big district. It starts up in Truckee, north of Lake Tahoe, runs through the Gold Country, Sierra Nevada, essentially, takes in Tahoe, Yosemite Valley, and ends in Kings Canyon in Fresno County. In fact, we've got more than half of Fresno County in the district as well.
Wow. Now you have Placer County, which is adjacent to Sacramento.
We have most of Placer County, all of El Dorado County.
Okay. So a big part of our listenership is from that area, but a lot of people are affected by what happens in those counties, but we're also affected by what happens in Washington, right? So as the congressman, what maybe just give us an idea what that job entails. I know that's a huge job, but just maybe like an overview, a 30-second overview for us.
The American people in the last 4 elections have given us a very, very clear mandate: revive the economy, rescue the health care system, and secure the borders. And we've made some progress in that direction since this new administration began, but we've got a long way to go.
What kind of progress have you made?
Well, the progress is mainly right now through executive action. The illegal border crossings are down some 70% since the election, in large part because the president's again enforcing those laws. He's been able to use executive authority to roll back a number of the regulations that have been crushing the economy. In addition, the Congress has passed a number of Congressional Review Act measures which further reduce the regulatory burdens. This president, in his first 100 days, signed more legislation than any president since Harry Truman. Most of that was rolling back regulations. The relief alone is estimated to be about $68 billion on the economy right now. But that's just a drop in the bucket. Tax reform is still on the runway. That's got to be enacted this year. The health care bill passed the House, but it's currently being considered in the Senate. That's got to be in place this year. So we got a lot of work yet to do.
Rolling back regulation, that has kind of a nice ring to it, because there's nobody, as an entrepreneur, as guys trying to build small businesses, we want a little freedom to operate so that we can create a differentiated product. But really we're focused on, how can we build a business so that we can put food on the table for our family. So many small businesses, they fail at some point, especially in that first 5 or 10 years. It's pretty easy to find yourself struggling and find yourself needing to make adjustments and pivot. But we don't have time to focus on what's going on in Washington and all the different things. We have to focus on feeding our families. What's a small business guy to do in this kind of climate?
Well, two things. First of all, it has to be understood. Good public policy makes the job a lot easier. Bad public policy makes the job a lot harder. And what I've observed over the years is when in good times, people don't pay a lot of attention to politics because they don't need to. Things are going reasonably well, even reasonably poorly. They've got a lot of other things in their lives that they need to attend to. But when a crisis approaches, that's when you see the strength of a democracy emerge. It's one by one, individual citizens come to the conclusion, things are getting pretty bad, and as a citizen, I've got to do something. That's when they engage in the political process. That's when they change things. We've just been through a period of profound change. Of course, with profound change comes profound controversy, but that's all part of the process of meeting the mandate that we've been given, as I said, to restore the economy, repair the healthcare system, and secure our borders.
Well, this show is about entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. I'm a small business guy. My next door neighbor built a business. He had a successful exit. He's my neighbor. He helps me a little bit with ideas and as a sounding board. I bounce ideas off of him, and we're trying to make that culture sort of take hold here in Sacramento, where small businesses don't have to fail. Entrepreneurs want to help one another. Yeah. And you were talking about that before the show about, hey, maybe neighbors ought to just start talking to one another about what's going on out here.
Two things. Number one, people have to understand that policy is not decided in Washington or Sacramento. Policy is actually decided over backyard fences, family dinner tables, coffee at Starbucks. Once those policy decisions are made by individual Americans, then they are reflected by the government in Washington and Sacramento. So engaging in that process is everything. The debates that go on in Washington are just a reflection of the debate that goes on every day in our community. That's the first, and you've got to be a part of that debate. The second thing to understand is you're not when you're having a close encounter with a federal bureaucracy, or for that matter, a state bureaucracy, you're not in this alone.
Okay.
If it's a federal bureaucracy, call our congressional office. We have
you're in Roseville.
Here in Roseville, 786-5560.
Here to help.
Yeah.
Tom McClintock.
And the point is, we have an entire division of that office that's specifically designed to assist constituents with the bureaucracies. If it's a state bureaucracy, your state legislative offices, your assemblyman and your senator have the same kind of arrangement in their offices. We can't promise results. That is, we can't force the bureaucracies to do something, but we can make darn sure that we've rattled cages, that we've taken your case to the attention of the bureau, so nothing is going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
You're going to get due justice from these bureaucracies, but we can't do that if you don't tell us you have a
open door
so
policy at Tom McClintock's office. You can get him or his team. And I think, like you said, I think a lot of people, I know Senator Ted Gaines has that same sort of like, come, let me help you. I can't promise you the world, but I'm here to help. But as I talk to somebody who's on the national scene, you're one of the most, if not the most respected in your field, I keep thinking about where I get my news from, right? You turn on the TV, or you listen to these talk shows on AM radio, and you hear a pretty one-sided point of view. And I was just thinking, then you hear this stuff about fake news, right? We all know there's fake news. You get the Trump tweets, and I just keep thinking where I get my news. The most valuable news that I get is when I talk to my son about how your day was, right, Marcus? I text you at the end of the day, were you hanging or banging today, right? And I get the news of the day of my family or my grandkids, and what did they learn today in school? That's the news that I care most about. But I have a little bit of time to gather the national news. Where should I get the news from?
Well, you've got a wider choice than you've ever had before. That's the best thing about the era
True.
we live in today. It used to be you'd get your news from one of 3 networks and that was it, or the local newspaper and there's only one. Now you have a wide range of choices, and I'd advise people to avail yourself of all of those choices. You now have news aggregators that will look at a multitude of different newspapers, pull the most interesting stories. You pick the aggregator, they'll pick the articles from across the country. So the good news is information is so much more widely available than ever before. The bad news is we don't often avail ourselves of it, and that's the irony of the age we live in.
Understood. Okay, let's talk a little bit about confidence, right? So Sacramento, we kept the Kings. You and I talked about this a little bit earlier. Looks like we're going to get an MLS team, knock on wood. We're starting to see some the seeds being planted for something really special happening right here in the Sacramento region in terms of entrepreneurship and growth. And it starts with some confidence, right? So once you get a little bit of confidence, it kind of gets you that energy to work a little harder, do a little more. You start believing in things, and then that can catch fire. And you see what's happening with the stock market. They call it the Trump trade, starting to happen. Let's assess the state of confidence right now in the American people.
Adam Smith, by the way, they called those the animal spirits of an economy.
Okay.
And said that's a really important part. People's outlook is a very important part of what makes an economy hum. And so I think you're absolutely right on that score. And I think you're right. There's a great deal of anticipation that we're going to see the kind of policies under Trump that we saw under Ronald Reagan, roll back the tax and regulatory burdens that are crushing the economy. Every time that's been done, we've been rewarded with periods of explosive economic growth, not only under Reagan, but John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, did the same thing in the early 1960s with the same result. So we know how to revive an economy. There's a great deal of anticipation. Those policies are going to be put in place. We've got to meet those expectations because those high animal spirits that are running right now on anticipating these policies could come crashing down if it appears those policies are not going to be enacted. So that's the unfinished work, and there's a lot of it that we have to attend to. And the point that you made about your conversations with Marcus and others, that is everything. It's ultimately these things are going to be decided based upon the answer to the question that Ronald Reagan asked years ago. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Yeah. No way a politician or a pundit can spin that answer. You know in your own life what's happening. You know if things are getting better or getting worse. People have got to be able to look at their own lives and say, by George, things are getting a lot better. It's morning again in America. We all know that in the Congress. We all know that we have to act because people are going to have to be able to look into their own lives and answer that question.
My favorite Ronald Reagan quote is, all great change in America begins at the dinner table. And I really believe that it does start with our family, whether it be the dinner table or TV dinners or, on the way to Little League. It's the concept of your family being close and being close with your neighbors.
One of the things that makes our country different from any other country in the world is the notion of sovereignty. In any other country, sovereignty is established in the government. The government loans the people certain powers. We Americans have a very different view of that.
Welcome back to Mark Haney, igniting the entrepreneurial revolution with the Haney Biz Project.
Unlike other countries, in America, the sovereign does not govern. The sovereign hires help to govern. That's what I do. That's what any elected official is. We're hired help. And then over those next 2 years, the sovereign watches that hired help and discusses among itself how the hired help's doing. And then they decide in 2 years whether to keep them or to kick them out and hire somebody else. Yep. That's the beauty of the system, and it all comes back to exactly what you said, those conversations over family dinner, the conversations between neighbors over the backyard fence, the conversations at the water cooler at work. Yep. That's where the future of the country is ultimately decided. Then it's simply reflected by the governing institutions.
Tom McClintock, I want to thank you for joining us today. Our first show here in my office, so it feels good to have your warmth. I've appreciated your commitment to our military. The first time I met you was 5 or 6 years ago when we were at a Gold Star event together, which is the event for the parents of a fallen soldier, fallen Marine in that particular case. And so I respect and appreciate what you do for not only small business, but what you do for the military veteran community here in our country.
Thank you.
So thanks for coming.
It's an honor for me to do that. Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to start drinking. It's about time. We're going to get Grover Lee, Dr. Grover Lee, in the house. He's the founder of the beautiful Wiseville Winery in Lincoln. Join the revolution at haneybiz.com, courtesy of Sun System Technology. This is the Haney Biz Project.
Welcome back to Mark Haney, igniting the entrepreneurial revolution with the Haney Biz Project.
Welcome back to the Haney Biz Project, brought to you courtesy of Hub International. I'm Mark Haney, and I am joined by Dr. Grover Lee, entrepreneur and founder of Wiseville Winery. How you doing, Dr. Grover?
Good,
Dr. Grover Lee.
Yes.
Now you're a doctor, but you're a winemaker.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of your background, real quick.
Okay. Major doctorate is clinical pharmacy, but that started with a PhD program in biochemistry that got me into that. And then I wanted some more medical component of that, so I went to a medical school, board certification in managed care medicine. And as I mentioned a few times to a few people, that's all about winemaking.
Ah, nice.
I mean, all that.
The pharmaceutical industry was great training for building this enormous winery, huh? Good to know.
Yeah.
How does it? Where's the intersection?
Well, the intersection is just Wiseville Winery is just east of Lincoln, in the rolling foothills there at Garden Bar and Wise Road.
Okay, but takes a lot of precision to make that wine. We'll talk about that. I know it takes a lot of precision to do the pharmaceutical stuff. And I know you've built other businesses as well. If there's time, we'll get into that. We only have a few minutes to talk. So let's talk about Wiseville. That place is like one of the most beautiful places out there in Lincoln. It's a hidden gem. Describe the feeling that you get when you pull onto your property. I mean, it's enormous.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Europe. And so my whole winemaking life was sort of culminated in what the experience was in Europe, and what talking to winemakers and vineyard managers and so forth, adding a lot of science to some classic winemaking procedures, and getting that feel of Tuscany and getting the feel of some little villages in France, all over France.
Okay, so coming up there, Lauren and I went up there the other day, and we got that feeling. You see this huge set of grapevines, right? And then the Tuscan feel, the buildings. You walk in, you can have lunch, you can have, or dinner, I guess it is.
Yes.
And you can have events. A guy could get married there. A girl could get married there. So, I mean, describe to us what a typical event there might look like. I mean, is it all about wine drinking, or is it pairing it with food?
You know, you mentioned food. You mentioned the restaurant, the bistro. My experience in Europe was all based on wine is made for food. Food is made for wine. I mean, you could throw a beer in there, but
it's not just for guzzling at the end of the night. Okay.
It's really about. To me, it was all about having a wine that is very, very appropriate for food, and having a wine that is. Well, my wine, how it's made is, I'm in the 1 percentile of how wine is made worldwide. There's 99% of the world that makes wine a certain way, and there's 1% of the world that makes it the way I make it.
Okay.
And that is a very different process. A lot of the same principles happen in our organic vineyard management that we do. There's a lot of.
Sounds like a healthy way of making
very
wine.
Healthy way.
Okay, so I could get healthy.
Those doctor things in there.
Doctor approved. Is it doctor approved?
It's doctor approved.
Okay, so let's talk, Marcus, you got some of that wine there? Marcus, why don't you pour wine while the doctor and I talk about it? And thinking out loud, wine's healthy for you? I mean, it seems.
Of course, you know, the American Medical Association says that a man should have 2 glasses of wine a day, and
Okay.
a woman 1 glass of wine. And I don't want to discriminate, but there's actually reasons for that. There's some alcohol dehydrogenase, you know, less in women and so forth. But
Very tasty.
But wine that is lower in sulfite means that it's probably a cleaner sorting process to get that lower sulfite requirement, because all the processes of making the wine, you have to test it and you add sulfites to it as needed. So instead of a normal bottle of 350 parts per million sulfites in wine, ours is more in that 50 range.
Okay, and so then the health benefit there is what, lower cardiovascular risk of disease there or something?
Yeah, well, you have a lot of people that have some sensitivities to sulfites.
Oh.
And people talk about that all the time. They're talking about, well, if you have asthma, if you have allergies and lots of other conditions, the sulfite, you know, it's a lot better if you can have lower. But if you're making mass amounts of wines and you don't sort quite as carefully, then it's a little higher. Another thing that causes some problems with wine is like the tannins, the tannin levels of wines. Big red wines, that tannins, if you aren't sorting very, very carefully what you're picking and how well you're sorting. We sort down to the individual grape berry. I mean, we don't crush. We talk about crush, but we don't crush. It's a berry. So they're sorting down to the actual berry, and that kind of sorting gives you some very soft, wonderful tannins. That because you don't have all the other garbage, and you have all the garbage, you need more sulfites. So if you do that right, you don't need the sulfites, and you have softer tannins.
Well, sounds like I need to get over there for a full-blown training. So you have a great wine. My wife, I know she and her friends love your winery, and they love the experience. In fact, you know, it prompted me to get you on the show for a while now. We finally got you here, but I want to know about your business. You've had an extensive business background. You've had an entrepreneurial career you've been very successful. This business that you're building with Wise Villa, it's an award-winning wine, but it's more than that.
Yeah, award-winning wine. You know, people say that, and you think, well, everybody's award-winning wine. I mean, I've been to garages that are award-winning wines.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's where do you get the award from? You know, I received an award from the governor in the governor's office in the state of California, from the based by the California State Fair of 3,000 some entries. There's only one winery in all of California that can get this award. That's called Golden State Winery of the Year.
And California, you got some pretty tough competition here. Sonoma, Napa Valley, and Amador. There's a great wine out there.
That's absolutely right.
You're over here in Lincoln, we got the #1.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy, I know. And you know, I think about that all the time, thinking like, who ever heard of the Golden State Winery of the Year? I tell you who heard of it. The one winery that gets that award.
We know about it in Lincoln.
Thousands of other wineries, like, they don't talk about it. Why? Because they didn't get it.
They didn't get it. You didn't talk about it. All right, let's talk about your business. So you grew the business.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on. You got a ton of acreage. You've got more acreage near where you're at.
Yeah.
So a lot of grapes, a lot of growth. Talk about building that business, because it's not just going into the winery. I can get this stuff if I go into where, Costco.
That's right. Yeah, you know, building a business to be successful, I always like to look at that if you're thinking about an entrepreneurial business, you have to figure out how much money you're going to make in the business, and then the whole process is, once you know that, then your job changes totally on 2 things: the customer and your product. Okay. So if you have the best service that possible, and your product is the best product that can be made, and you make sure that's all you focus on, and that is what you do. That is my job, is to have the best possible everything I do to make that product and the service to that customer. I don't have to worry about the money. I don't have to worry. I have to worry about making the best product and have the best possible service. The money will follow, but I have to know when I start how much money I'm going to make, and if I follow my plan, which is all based on the customer and the product.
best possible customer experience, best possible product,
that's
best possible wine, and it's healthy. And beer's kind of healthy too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. That's helpful for me because we got a beer guy coming up after you. I have been known to sample beer a little bit more than wine, so we're going to be talking about that, talking about the health benefits. You know, I got a lot of habits. Beer sounds like it's one of my good ones now, huh?
Well,
Good.
one
Okay.
other, if I have just
Yeah, we got 20 seconds.
20 seconds. The alcohol content, very, very important for wine. My alcohol content is much, much lower than most California wines.
Okay.
And that's also a health benefit, but is also a benefit for the product quality. And I could talk a lot more about that, but both the health benefits, the calories, and there's a bunch of other stuff that involves in that, and food. And
Is it lower calorie?
Lower calorie.
Low calorie,
absolutely.
low alcohol. Well, you had me at lower calorie,
Yeah,
but
yes.
low alcohol, I don't know about that. Let's
No, yeah.
check it out.
It'll make
It's
sense to
healthy.
you. It'll make sense.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the benefits of drinking beer,
Yes.
which is something that I have been looking for my entire life. And that's for, and again, I say that for all of you that are over 21 and be responsible and be safe. I'm just playing around, but drive safely. And I'm not talking to you, Marcus. I'm not talking about.
Well, yeah, limitless
yeah,
limos, right?
that's right. You call limitless limo. That's right.
You need to always remember, be smart and drink wise.
Wiseville Winery. I love it. When we return, we are going to be talking to Track 7 Brewing Company's Mr. Ryan Graham. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, courtesy of Kim Silvers HR. This is the Haney Biz Project.
And now back to the Haney Biz Project with investorpreneur Mark Haney.
Welcome back to the Haney Biz Project, brought to you courtesy of the Entrepreneurs Organization of Sacramento. I'm Mark Haney, and I am joined by Ryan Graham, the co-founder of Track 7 Brewing Company. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing really well, thank you.
You bet. Thank you for coming down. Want to talk about your business, want to get to know you a little bit. Tell us about the name Track 7. How'd you come up with that?
Oh wow, there's the long story and there's the short story.
We better go with the short one because it's radio.
Perfect. The convenient answer is that the original location in Curtis Park is adjacent to the old Western Pacific Railroad. There's 7 tracks there.
Saw the 7th track, huh?
Packages that
I
story.
love it. So you and your partner met at Davis, and something prompted you to start a brewing company. What happened?
So yeah, both my business partner Jeff and I, we're product of the Great Recession. We're finding that opportunity wasn't coming as easily as we had thought and promised. And you go to college, there's these things that are going to be available to you. And so we said we're going to start out and create our own opportunity. And so both of us were home brewing. I was living in Southern California, driving product back and forth, and ultimately we both committed to the idea of getting out there, starting a business, and throwing caution to the wind, I guess.
And look how it's grown, right? You have the office in Curtis Park area that's expanded, and then you've got the 36,000 square foot facility in the Thomas. You're in all the majors in terms of distribution. I mean, talk to us about that journey, that growth journey.
Well, I mean, it's probably one of the things that I would agree that I would do it better if I had it a second time. You never know how to do it right the first time.
Yeah.
But we've had some great advice along the way. We've partnered with really nice people, people that believe in us. Our local distribution company has been very confident in us and has given us a lot of room to operate and grow the brand as we've seen fit. Despite the fact that we tend to run out of product for them and some of the other small business problems.
They're selling out of your stuff, which is not the worst. A guy can have a worse problem.
There are worse problems than that, yes.
Yes.
So we've managed all right, and we've had a really great cast of characters that have helped support us.
So you've got your wives in the business, and you guys are partners. So there's like 4 partners. The company's grown with several employees. How do you guys sort out who does what? Allocation of the human resources, if you will.
Sure, it's one of those things that's not been easy along the way. Everyone starts off kind of going, well, I really like doing this. Well, I really like doing that. And over time, some of those jobs and responsibilities kind of overlap with each other, and it may be that in actuality someone has a greater aptitude for a different aspect of the business. And so This last year has been a lot about us going through kind of that next level of business development. And it's really been about, instead of investing in new tanks and new equipment, it's about investing in the business itself and going through an organization, and restructuring things to maximize our each individual best aptitudes. And so as a result, I believe that we've done a great job in terms of positioning ourselves for the next 5 years, because we'll be able to kind of meet those challenges and meet those needs in a way that I don't think the other kind of up-and-coming breweries are quite ready to have adjusted to.
Yeah, with that growth and personnel challenges, they're going to exist in any company. But when you have 4 partners and they're married and they're buddies, I can only imagine. I mean, you must have had to make the decision, let's put the company first, and the other answers will sort of fall in line?
Right. Well, it's always, we always look after the company first. And, we've had to have hard conversations along the way, just like every other business has had to deal with. But we always come at it from the point where, at the end of the day, we're doing it for the interest of the business. We're doing it in the long-term interest of each other and our families. And as long as we have that in mind, things have tended to work themselves out.
We talk about hanging or banging on this show. If you're hanging, you are at your very best opportunity. If you're banging, that's what you're doing. But you're hanging is okay too. But small business guys, sometimes where you get kind of married to that business as well, it's tough to take a minute out and relax and recharge. What does Ryan Graham do when he's hanging?
When I'm hanging, I actually just got a chance to watch some anime with my daughter. I took her to Comic-Con this last week.
Oh, nice. Where is that, San Diego?
Earlier in the month in Sacramento when I was in kind of in the downtown area. Just really trying to get a chance to enjoy life with my kids at their level. They've been with me for so long and doing all the things that I want to do and a part of our lives in that respect. Now it's my turn to kind of engage with them at their level. My son's really interested in playing, ball, and so baseball and sports are a big part of what he does. And so it's about going into and figuring out how to relate to him on his level now. And I learn a lot that way from both of them, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to hang out with our kids.
Well, you and I talked about the appreciation you have for your partner Jeff, and the benefits of having a partner. Which I've had partners in all of my businesses, and you can rely on one another. So if you happen to be hanging at a given moment, maybe your partner is banging at that same moment, and the thing continues to thrive. How important is Jeff?
Oh, Jeff's absolutely important. I mean, the other part that's really nice is that we're kind of polar opposites in personality and type, and so we really play off each other very well as a result of that. So I have the most confidence in the world that when I'm gone, he's able to run things exactly the way that it needs to be done, and he has the same confidence in me that when he's gone, things are running tight, and we come back together and keep this thing going.
Who came up with the names of these beers? We're drinking some of your beer here. I'm drinking Panic, which is, I know there's a baseball guy named Panic. Otherwise, I try not to panic. But this, I may have to start going back to this.
Yeah, so Panic was a tongue-in-cheek name that we came up with, in that when we started our brewery, we didn't have an IPA or a pale ale. So it was kind of everyone panicked when they came into the tasting room. They didn't have kind of what everyone was looking for. But in general, our beer names are created amongst anyone at the business.
Muck and Futch, what's that? I mean, Marcus says that to me sometimes. Dad, you're not so muck and futch.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
Well, what is it?
He says it's something like that.
Robertson, or whatever, the child actor movie. That was kind of his tagline. It's one of those things where sometimes we have a lot of pop culture references in our beer names.
Nice.
So that's just whatever inspiration we got, we throw it out there, and oftentimes the name won't stick on the first beer that we were talking about.
Yeah.
But we revisit it again and go, hey, look, we got this really great beer for that, or a concept comes around that drives the beer style based upon a name that's already been pre-selected.
Well, Ryan, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I know time kind of flies by, but we were fortunate enough to get to drink some beer with you.
Thank you.
Share your story a little bit. Right here in Sacramento, a lot of cool stuff is happening in beer right here in our backyard. We're lucky to have that. You're growing your company, you're scaling it. Where can they get your beer if I just want to go? I went to Rayleigh's, but where else can I go if I'm out there besides coming over to your facility?
All right, well, Rayleigh's, Nuggets, Total Wines, Bevmos are all places you can go and get our cans and bottles. We have a variety of opportunities throughout the area to get draft pints while you're out at restaurants. So If they're not there, ask for it, and we'll get the beer over there.
I love it. I love it. All right, Caroline, you want to take us away with little words of appreciation for our sponsors?
Absolutely. A big shout out and thank you to our neighbor Luke Smith at Audi Rockland.
Yeah, baby.
And John O'Bronson, Hub International, Silvers HR, and Ethan Conrad Properties.
Good things happen, and I got to give a little shout out to my buddies at the Entrepreneur Organization, EO, and the entrepreneurs in my EO group. When we're hanging, we like to be thinking about once-in-a-lifetime events. We call them oil events, and we're going to be doing that. We're going out to Tesla, I think, in a week or two, but that's the kind of thing you get to do if you are in part of EO Entrepreneurs of Sacramento. If you want to think about joining that, come see me. I am an ambassador for the club, and it is a heck of a lot of fun. Also, got to give a little shout out to Haney Biz and the cool things that you and your team are doing around here, Caroline, in PR, what we're doing in marketing. You know, a lot of people are thinking about how do I grow my business. Well, maybe you ought to let Haney Biz go hands-on. We get in, help you with your business, help you with your accounting, your marketing, your cybersecurity. I mean, whatever you got, we are here to help. And if I don't have the company here in the house, guess what? I know a guy, right? I know a guy that can help you. You need beer? I know a guy. I got to connect you up. You need wine? I know a guy, right? You want to know your state senator? I know the guy. Come in, we'll help you out. And next week's show is going to be off the charts. We're going to have Augustine Joseph. He's the CEO of JetX. And we're also going to have Michelle Steeb, CEO of St. John's Center for Women in Crisis. Coming back after the break, this is the Haney Biz Project.
Welcome back for Mark's takeaways from today's Haney Biz Project.
Welcome back to the Haney Biz Project, brought to you courtesy of the Entrepreneurs Organization of Sacramento. I'm Mark Haney, and today we have been talking about the difference between hanging and banging. Both are good. Hanging, though, it's so much sweeter when you've been banging, am I right? I mean, if you have been at your very best, if you have been working at your best, at your very best opportunity, rest is okay. Rest is best when you've been winning, and that's what banging is, right? When you are banging, that means you are winning. It doesn't mean that you've hit your ultimate goal. It just means that you've been at your best. And you know what? If you've been working hard at your very best, it's okay to rest. It's okay to take a little bit of time off, right? But you know, if you've been moving the chains, right? I'm back here with Marcus Haney and Caroline Gaines. Takeaways from today, thoughts about our guest today and about hanging or banging?
I'd just say that my biggest takeaway from listening to the guests is I feel so blessed to live in Sacramento, California.
A lot of cool stuff happening right here in Sacramento. Wine, beer, politics.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that all of our guests today really came on and spread the word about what's going on here in Sacramento, the neat stuff that maybe gets overshadowed a little bit in our region. So I'm really glad that we had the ability to put some new confidence into our area and really, you know, push something for our region as a total.
I think one of the questions too we ask ourselves is it okay for me to go on vacation? And I think a lot of that has to do with, have we been banging, right? Have we earned the vacation? If you've been on the hamster wheel and you aren't really moving anywhere, you still get tired, you still feel like you need a vacation. Well, maybe you do need take some time off to work on your business instead of in your business. Maybe there's changes that need to be made if you're on the hamster wheel. That's okay. If that takes a little vacation time to start thinking about working on your business instead of in your business day to day, you know, that's fine. But the last thing I hate to see with any of us is when we go on vacation and we're working like crazy, not enjoying our downtime. I mean, if you're gonna rest. It's okay to have a little downtime. It's okay to be hanging. That's a good thing, especially when you've earned it. And you just look at your balance sheet, right? You can tell by looking at your financial statement whether you've earned it or not. So you pull out your balance sheet, you hand it over to me, and I'll tell you what type of vacation you can take, okay? I can help you with that project. I can help you with how to work on your business. Come over to Haney Biz. That's what we are here for. We are always by your side. We are with you. It's entrepreneurs, helping entrepreneurs. And you know what? How about a Sacramento salute to the hometown leaders of hometown patriotism, Tom McClintock, Ryan Graham, and Dr. Grover Lee. And you know what? I got to give a shout out to all those guys fighting the good fight for our freedom, you know, to make this dream a possibility, to work hard, to play hard, to rest easy, to the 13 stripes, to the 50 stars, and to the one big American dream, always worth fighting for, yours. Never above you, never below you.
Always by your side.